Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from AstroLada.com. And today I have a double present for you. Evolutionary astrologer Mila is here together with evolutionary astrologer Aaron, a new guest on our astrology show. Hello, both of you, beautiful couple.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Ada.
I love it when astrologers find each other.
Yeah.
And form a relationship. And I'm so excited. Aaron did a reading for me for my birthday, at least it was. And he is extremely powerful, penetrating deep insights that hit to the core of the soul. And I'm very excited that both of you are going to talk about the Uranus entering into Gemini, which just happened. So I give you the word, and also you're offering a reading together for people if they're interested on evolutionary astrology. I'll put the link below as well. If they, and I'm very happy to hear the insights from both of you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to start, Aaron?
Sure. Well, thank you for having us, and it's great to be here. And thanks for the opportunity to give you that reading. That was nice. And well, these are big energies as we can feel. I mean, all the information is rising in the consciousness and within ourselves. And we're starting to see where a lot of the denials of the past are being realized in new language. And so when that happens, it's usually an opportunity for us to reflect. Is the emotion that I put into that old narration, is it still alive? And if so, what is it actually telling me? What is the information telling me? So with that Gemini energy and the Lover's card, it's about the alchemical wedding. And how do you show up in the world? It's just a reflection of your integration of your light and your dark, what you accept, what you can't accept. And the information is here now to help us to understand that a little bit better.
I told you he sounds like a poetry reading. When I was listening to my
Got,
reading, I was like, whoa, whoa. It's like someone is reading a poem for me.
he's got a lot of 12 house, like that. A lot of 12 house.
Oh, reading your soul. But
Yeah.
yes, Aaron, you are correct because actually, the moment it happened, it was yesterday that Uranus entered. Something shifted in my mind, and I was saying, why do I keep telling myself the same story and over and over? And because I keep looking to the past and keep saying that every time I try to do something, it always played out in certain way. And yesterday I woke up and I was like, no, this time is not gonna play this way. This the story is changing. And I like, I've asked and questioned my story before, but like I realize it on a visceral level now. So this is what Uranus in Gemini will be giving us a lot of questioning your own internal dialogue and seeing it from a very different vibration.
Yeah, especially because Mercury currently is still in a sign of Leo and is on the second decan, which is a Sagittarius decan, with Jupiter being in Cancer. Moon currently, as we recording this, is still in a sign of Sagittarius, so they're having the mutual reception. So yesterday, during the time of the ingress, Uranus ingressing into Gemini, first time since 1949. So we know Uranus was in Gemini last time during the Second World War. We have the opportunity to create a new story, but it's again a choice. It's a conscious choice. What the individuals and humanity as a collective is choosing, but because we are in this age of Aquarius with Uranus ruled by Gemini, Mercury in Leo, and the Sun being in Cancer at the moment, and obviously Uranus is the modern ruler of Pluto in Aquarius. It is not going to be the same for everyone. So the times has shifted, the times have changed. So we're not going to be creating the same timelines for everyone. The consciousness is in a sense it's like splitting, so it's not going to be the spicy and age like one for all, we're all going to have exactly the same experience. I really feel that now really we living in a times, and this year especially being the pivotal year where the timelines are splitting. People are choosing, do I want to, just like you said for your own example, do I want to follow the same narrative because we are creators of our reality to keep recreating the same thing, or do I want to do something different, transcend that story? So I feel with this Uranus in Gemini, we have the opportunity to transform and transcend those timelines to break that pattern. And it can be done very, very quickly, especially with all the other energy we have at play with Saturn in Aries, Neptune now retrograde in Aries. So it is not going to be the same as it was last time Uranus was in Gemini, because now the consciousness is different and people can get out of that pattern through working with the quantum field, working with the spirit, working with the things that are not material, going beyond the material.
I liked what you said, maybe even for the title of this video, Transcending the Story, Uranus in Gemini. That's pretty much it. But looking back to the past, other astrologers have done it. Every time Uranus was in Gemini, revolutions, wars erupted. What is your feeling on that?
Well, I don't know. You like that theme.
I mean, we're in the perfect times for that to actually make sense. I've always felt most revolutions, vast majority are either inside jobs or they're hijacked, because the purity can't last very long. Once it starts to spread, it starts to be replicated and it becomes a system. So in these times, this is cataclysm of consciousness. First we have to understand the stories and the psyche, and then we fall into the purity of what resonates with us. And we either over-identify ourselves with the narrations as they are played out with the politicians or with the uprising movements or the legacy systems, religions, other things that come up through the trauma loop convictions that we kind of claim onto and we find a purpose in life. So right now we're like, okay, now how do we break those chains and we just kind of fall into the truth of who we are and bring that into this world and embody the Taurian energies into this Gemini ingress. So the north node of Uranus in Gemini, we kind of feel driven to change. And that's what I feel these uprising energies are. It's Uranus rising, Prometheus. So
maybe just explain that each planet has their own nodes, because not everybody is aware.
Yeah. Every planet has their own nodes, and the outer planets also have nodes. And currently, Mercury is conjunct the north node of Neptune. And we see Neptune retrograde, to be retrograde, sextiling Uranus, entering into Gemini. So that's another kind of dynamic we feel with this Mercury coming online. What is the purity of our soul song? What is it to live in this world as a perfect replication rather than a perfect creation? Which is learning that there is no perfection. It's in the process. So how do you make your life the process and fall into your own music and bring that into the world? And that's, that polarity to Aquarius is to hold the fire in the winds of change. You got to find the reason, the conviction within yourself and share that, because that's what we all hold. It's the heritage of human spirit.
What do you follow this with?
Well, I can put a little bit of Mercury in Aries there, my expression. So this is all an opportunity, especially as we are building up towards this full moon in Capricorn. And we know that until, last November, Pluto was in Capricorn since 2008. Now it's done with it. And Saturn now is about to station retrograde at the end of this week for the first time in a sign of Aries. So with Saturn being in Aries, and we already covered that, Lada, we have the opportunity to create a different structure, to become a conscious creator of your reality. So everything is connected. We can see how, if we start jumping from planet to planet, how they all connected to one another and creating this perfect energy of this illumination that's going to hit us now with this full moon in Capricorn, as the first lunation with Uranus in Gemini and Neptune retrograde in Aries, to help you to decide. It's like a crossroad moment. It's, with the Uranus being in Gemini, as Aaron said, is the Lover's card in Tarot, which represents the choice. we have the opportunity to decide. Now, this moon got seeded on a literally last day of the last year, 2024. For some of us, it was still on the 30th. We were still in Mexico at the time. But for Europe, Asia, it was already the 31st. It was the final day of 2024, the year which was the final year we put in a sign of Capricorn. And last year was very profound because we had 4 lunations in Capricorn. We started with new moon in Capricorn. We ended with new moon in Capricorn. We had 2 full moons in the summer. So now we are building towards full moon in Capricorn, which is the full moon of the final new moon of 2024. So this is not getting lost on me that we have an illumination of the last lunation that got seeded in 2024 with Uranus in Gemini. So this represents how do you want to act? Who do you want to become? What do you want to create going forward? Especially as at that time we still had the North Node in Aries. And Mars is now in Virgo, coming into closing phase conjunction with the South Node. We have the choice. We have the choice. We can replicate the past if we don't learn from it, because the Mercury is in Leo. It's giving us the power to connect with our, like Aaron said, the song of your heart or the voice of your soul, or with the trauma loop conviction, which is the opposition to Aquarius, the things that are stuck in time, the unprocessed emotions, because they happen when we didn't have the tools, whether in childhood, whether in past lives. So we can choose, do I want to act on my wounding, or do I want to go beyond that and act on this purity of the soul? So with the Capricorn full moon, which is going to peak on Thursday, the day of Jupiter in Cancer, currently ruled by all the lunations because moon is the ruler of Jupiter for the next year, we have the opportunity to expand, but we have to feel it to heal it. And that is the hard work.
Feel it. That's something I'm very bad with, to let myself feel things. Do you think now that this coming of north-south node, Ketu, south node with Mars, usually in the world it can be quite violent because it's release of old unprocessed anger, trauma. But how can we work on it personally? What can we do about that? This closing of the cycle and starting of a new one between Mars and the South Node. What are some maybe good advice for us so we don't get triggered and shoot everyone?
Getting into practical things which honor and value, or which honor you so that you can find the value in who you are and what you can bring to yourself. Then you can share that with others, bringing heaven to earth through your conscious awareness, realizing that victimhood must be recognized, but do not dwell on what that is. You don't need to close loops on redemption or any of that. You don't need to essentially complete the loop. All you have to do is recognize it and embody things which are beneficial to you, knowing that they're beneficial to other people. So, pour your water first, and then you can pour water for other people. So just small routines, getting into the body, getting into health, getting into nature, allowing nature to soothe and heal you, because as much as life is trauma, it's also healing. There's great healing in just the simple things, your bare feet on the dirt, looking at a beautiful picture, looking at the sun, the sunsets, the sunrises, the moons, just getting in nature and embodying life in a way where you're not stuck in the mind, but your body and the mind are in union. So very simple things, I feel.
Yeah, because with the Virgo, it's the everyday, it's the mundane reality, like, do you maybe need to get up half an hour earlier to give yourself the time to just sit in contemplation, do your journaling, do your yoga, listen to music, or just go for a short walk with your dog or whatever it is, and this is something that many times been spoken about because of the Taurus in a wounded vibration, which is this like inability to love ourselves because we feel it's selfish, because that's how we were being conditioned, that if you put yourself first, you're being selfish. So people always put somebody else first, and then we deplete ourselves. So with this Virgo, because Virgo is all about the healing, and Mercury being in a sign of Leo, so being the ruler of Gemini, Uranus, but also being the ruler of the South Node, there is something that needs to shift, because otherwise we can see how the patterns are repeating themselves, how we observe, for example, our parents being stressed out and short-tempered because they they didn't have the time to give themselves what they need, and now we're going to just pass it to next generation, because somewhere that pattern has to break. So what it is that we each as individuals, because we have all these labels we carry, like being a mother, being a wife, being a daughter, being whatever, but I am still me without all these labels. I still am some essence, some source, like an extension of the source that has the unique signature, and we all need what we need, which is again the Taurus, the trine from Taurus to South Node, trine from Capricorn to South Node, that I have to take responsibility to give to myself what I need, because we all need what we need, and if we don't give it to ourselves for a prolonged period of time, the need will become distorted, and that's what creates all these wars and everything, because there was a child at some point that grown up to be a man that now wants to rule a world because he was unrecognized, or his needs weren't met, or whatever the hell happened with his childhood. Or anyone, doesn't have to be just he, could be anyone. So that's what I mean. We need what we need. So it's just like Aaron said, what are the small adjustments we can make in everyday life? Whatever it is, small things, doesn't have to be much, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that would help you to fill your cup a little more so you can face this life in a different way. Because there will always be problems, there will always be challenges, the world will always does what the world does. But how do we respond to it is our choice.
Then it's true, this simplicity, because now with Uranus in Gemini, everything speeds up and we'll feel overwhelmed in our minds, overstimulated, and this earthiness and grounding that you talked about in simple everyday activities can be very necessary. It can even be dangerous without it, because almost dissociating sometimes when you're too much in the head with Uranus in Gemini. How do you see though it playing out in the world or in our personal lives? Because Uranus will be making beautiful transit. It will be trining Pluto for the next 2-3 years. It will be sextiling Neptune for the next 2-3 years. How do you feel it's gonna go in personal life and in the world as well?
Yeah, I think personally, you can really take these times to understand your own language, your own inner language. So I think when you get caught up in the mind, especially all the information coming in, it just pull you away from the body. It elementalizes you up here at the top of the tree where the wind's just blowing you everywhere. And so that's the process for most of us to realize we got to come down. And some don't do that of their own volition, they get knocked down. So I feel like in these times, you can really embody the knowledge that cycles happen. This is life. There are so many cycles, we don't even know how many there are. We use astrology as a tool to help us to understand. But really, it's your own language. What are the cycles within you that you can get in touch with? And to do that is you can create new understandings of yourself by doing new things, expressing the creative life flow in new ways. So I feel like this will propel people to make more risks, take more risks in life, and make connections that are actually not based in the shadow, but based in the unknown. Because that's why we're afraid of change, is because of the repetition of the traumas. But the unknown is that's the only place creativity can actually meet us. So I feel like we are getting conditioned to all the craziness in the world so that we can break free of our entrainment to the fear. So that we say, okay, well, this happened, this happened, this happened. We're all still here. Everything's still fine. We're all breathing. So, I mean, maybe it's not quite as bad as what they say. So how can I embody my own life and take the fear by the horns, so to speak, and actually use this energy for benefit to myself and others? So I feel like there will be a lot of new groups coming up, or collectives rising, and there will be where you have, say, digital nomads for one. That's one collective that's newer the past 10 years, 15 years. So that's one subculture of a new creation of this Aquarian age. But there are many subcultures. I mean, there are permaculture groups, there are people getting back into ancient traditions, spiritual traditions. And there are also systems rising, such as cryptocurrencies. We've got all these coins which will be consolidated into a systemized approach where it's controlled at the top. but there will also be organic people creating movements where, okay, well, we're going to create this coin model at a lower scale. So I feel like our boundaries where our patriotism might have held us back is going to be at the forefront. People might be against tourists or, everyone infiltrating their countries and they'll want to protect what they got. But then there will also be the opportunity for people to realize, what am I actually protecting? Who am I protecting? And for what reason? What does it benefit us going forward? The world's changing. The weather's shifting. We don't know what's going on, but to try and control it is that's hubris. And we're gonna get slapped down by nemesis when we don't grow and change ourselves. So that's what I feel these energies in this trine with Pluto and Uranus will really help us with.
So it will be easier to find our tribe, as you call it, and where we belong as a group. And there will be this more community formation, not by blood or tribalism, but by soul vibration, basically.
Well, and I also feel that because if you look at it from the higher spiritual perspective and that don't get caught up on labeling and judging, then and we already spoke about this in previous videos, Lada, that everybody has a role to play. Everybody has a role to play, even the shadow players. Everybody has a role to play, everybody plays a role to help towards this evolution, towards this rise of collective consciousness that we all agreed when we were preparing for our entrance here on a stage on planet Earth, pre-incarnation. So I feel that there will be things going on. Obviously, a lot of that will be also organic or maybe less organic, who knows, but through nature, there will be a lot of things, a lot of shifts happening naturally, whether it's because of the weather, because of the whatever is going to be happening, pole shift, who knows. And anything's possible these days, especially with Uranus in Gemini. But there will be things happening that are outside of our control that will make people to reevaluate everything, because the trine between Uranus and Pluto, which is the first trine, which is the Leo, again, takes you back to your heart. Either the narcissistic, wounded, egocentric, aspect of ourselves that is not healed, or that voice of the soul that say, I am here to enjoy. I am here not to just sacrifice. I am here to have create life that I want to experience. And then the sextile between Pluto and Neptune, the Aquarius to Aries, this is a foundational sextile, because the meaning is changing. Just like Aaron said before, people were, and there many people still are, they would be so attached to their culture, religion, whatever it is, and they would put the blindfolds on and go like, okay, this is the only good thing, this is the only thing that navigates my life. But then we will start asking questions like, but why am I doing this? Does this still hold a meaning? Does it make me happy? Does it help me to create a world or life for me, for my family, for my friends, for my loved one, or even, soul family, doesn't matter, that I want to be living? Is it worth living that life? So I feel these trines and sextiles, even though from a traditional aspect, traditional astrology perspective, they're seen as positive when we put the polarization on it. From evolutionary astrology perspective, every time there is a trine and a sextile doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Just like Jupiter in Cancer, it doesn't mean that it's going to be all easy now, because Jupiter moving into Cancer and we're all going to be crazy intuitive. It's possible, but Jupiter in Cancer will challenge us on, like, you have to grow. You have to grow into the biggest and greatest version of yourself that is available to you. Same way with Pluto and Neptune's trine, and Pluto and Neptune sextile, Pluto and Uranus trine will be challenged. And this trine or sextile just means you are ready. On a soul level, your soul is already ready. Your soul is already there, is already attuned and saying, hey, come on, human, you can do it. So, and the same way as, the squares in evolutionary astrology, we see them as a positive things, because we say this is what forces you to grow, to break out of that comfort zone and live a bit bigger life than the little box that we were being put into, when we incarnate on this planet, based on everything out there that put their projection onto us. So yes and no, it's going to be an amazing opportunity for expansion. How that's going to play out for individuals depends on where they are on their journey and what they're willing to change.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's very individual, but all this fire, air energy I think we'll have more free will somehow to act and do things because the masculine signs, they're signs of action, of getting things done, of so the motivation to change your life and to act on that will be easier, more easily accessible, and to change your mind. And of course, when you change your mind, action and can be dramatically changed as well. So do you have anything you want to add about Uranus in Gemini that you think will be relevant or encouraging for our viewers?
Yeah, it's don't get too caught up on the narrations because the purity within you, the projected icon that we push out into meaning of symbols and legacy and structures, that's there to help us grow. And now is the time to bring it in and create a new mythology from within yourself. And it's in the unknown. So if you're unsure what that is, you're actually in the right place. Because if you knew, then you would be replicating an old idea. So it's just be uh, aware that things are changing that are outside of all our control, but what we can control is our own creative flow. And where your attention goes, your energy flows. And this is a simple thing you can work on or you can become aware of so that you don't get pulled into the undertow of that Jupiter and Cancer. You can actually float up and ride the water and move when you got to move and sink when you got to sink. So,
And it's also just like Aaron was saying before, that if it's something that you already know, then it's just going to be replicating what you already been or what you already had. So I keep always saying that if something that you want is not manifest in your life, it means that it's hiding in the unknown. So this is also with the Uranus, because Uranus represents the quantum field. It's beyond what's manifest. It's beyond, what we can like understand based on what was. It's beyond that. So this is the splitting of the timelines. This is what Dolores Cannon was talking about. This is literally it playing out in a real time, where people once again will have the choice: do I want to focus on what is, like, yeah, there is a war, yeah, there is this, yeah, there is that, it's absolutely there, it's manifest, yes, we are emotionally responding or reacting to it, but that's not all there is. There is a lot of other things, 99 point whatever percent of unmanifested universe that are also there, but not yet manifest. So this is not about playing Pollyanna and, like just being spiritual bypassing and stuff, but being aware of the both, of the Gemini, of what is, but at the same time still have your attention or your focus on what you want and is not yet manifest, because both are true. So I feel like this, like I said, this is the split of the 3D from 5D. Are we going to be fully invested and focused and like emotionally attached to just that what is, which is the outcome of the past, or are we going to also through the mastering of our thought and emotion, which is what Jupiter is helping us to do, are we also going to be able to tune into that which is not manifest yet, but it will manifest? Because if you can see it, if you can vision it, this is again work of Dr. Joe Dispenza and many others who work with this kind of stuff. And this is the new level of the game. This is the new level of the game. Is it then just to be stuck in a 3D and think that this is all there is and we all doomed because nothing else is there? This is I have the evidence. Look at the South Node in Virgo. Here is the evidence. We keep repeating the same thing. Or are we going beyond that? So with Uranus in Gemini, this is an opportunity to make the choice, but it's not going to be easy, because by making the choice, you're going into complete unknown. You're going where you've never been before, because if you know where you're going and if you know what it's going to look like, it's replication of the past. So it's that complete unconditional faith, trust, and surrender, which is the North Node in Pisces, to the guidance of something that you cannot see, which is the inner compass. And that's another aspect of Jupiter in Cancer. It's learning us to attune to the inner compass. And then you are in charge of your life. You crack the matrix. That's it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for those deep insights again. And I will put the link below if people want to connect with you and if they want to contact you, speak with you for such deep insights. Aaron, also does astrology. You use not just evolutionary, you use all walks of astrology. If you can
Yes.
tell us a couple of words about that.
Yeah, I take in all perspectives and I apply what I have been able to validate within my own experiences. So I honor all these different systems, but I use what speaks to me and what speaks through me. So it's like a tool, I'm not non-denominational, but evolutionary astrology is a foundational aspect to how I read the charts, just because of the way that it actually incorporates Dane Rudier's work and the outer planets. And it just, in my own life, I've seen time and time again where it's just so accurate, so dead on, because it's helping you to learn your progression, not just what you have as potential within you, but how do you embody it? So,
Maybe we can introduce the new offering, Lada, so you know what it is. This new service that we are offering as our collaboration, co-creation together. So we decided to call it the alchemical metamorphosis process because we join in everything we know and everything that we work with together to tailor and customize to the individual or couple, depends how people want to work with us. So people don't even need to know their time of birth because Aaron can rectify the chart, but also he can work with the chart without having all that, being stuck on all the numbers. So it really is about supporting people wherever they're at in their life, whatever they're going through. So it's not just bound to like natal chart, solar return, okay, do I have a relationship? Do I not have a relationship? But just you as a being, where are you at and what do you need right here, right now? So us bringing our forces together, it's going to be personalized to the individual of do they need more of this, do they need more of that? And as you can see, we're coming from a little bit different perspective. I mean, the same perspective, but we have a very different approach. So yeah, that will
I,
be
I,
customized.
I know that you channel a lot of your work, but I kind of have a suspicion that
Oh
Aaron
yeah,
does.
Aaron does too.
yeah, it's like all the modalities are just a language. It's like paintbrushes. You can paint everything with one brush, but if you've got many, then it makes it a little bit easier. You can get details that you couldn't get before. So, yeah, numerology, all the occult sciences, spirituality, all the philosophies. And I'm not saying I know all of them, but I've learned enough to understand the language within myself. And I think what you need is to figure out your own language, and this is what Mila and I can offer.
Beautiful. I'll put a link below for anyone who wants to connect with you. Thank you for the encouragement for Uranus in Gemini. What was it? Transcending our stories, isn't it? That's how it Thank you so much, Mila and Aaron. Looking forward to hear from you again soon. And yeah, so see you soon. And I'm wishing everyone a very successful Uranus in Gemini, shaking off of the old stories, embracing new ones.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lada. And thank you everyone for watching.
Yeah, thank you, Lada. Thanks, everyone. Take care.